In 1952, Japan sent a research vessel into a stretch of ocean sailors were already whispering about. The Dragon's Triangle. A place where ships just vanish. The boat was called the Kaio Maru No. 5, and its job was simple. Figure out why so many vessels had disappeared out there. Calm seas, clear mission, real scientists on board, and then, suddenly, it vanished too. No wreckage, no survivors, just gone. What the? I'm Uncle Perry. I don't just tell stories, I dig up the fucked up ones most folks are too chicken shit to talk about. And I do it in a cavalier kind of way. From cryptids to government secrets, I chase down the truth behind the legends. Today, I'm going balls deep into the mystery of the Dragon's Triangle. If you thought the Bermuda Triangle was bad, the Dragon's Triangle is even more deadly. So, crack a beer, kick your feet up, and let's get it! Kaio Maru No. 5 Disappearance. According to statistics from the Maritime Security Division of the Japanese Maritime Safety Agency, from 1963 to 1972, 161 ships went missing in the Dragon's Triangle. It's long been a maritime horror, haunting sailors in Japan and around the world. The Devils Sea, Mono-umi in Japanese, is located between the Japanese coast, about 62 miles south of Tokyo, the east coast of the Philippines, level with Manila, and the west coast of Guam. Alright, let's dig into the most famous what the fuck just happened moment in the Dragon's Triangle's history. Through the 1940s and early 1950s, Japan wasn't just casually aware that ships were disappearing out there. They were actively trying to figure out why. The region had already built a nasty-ass reputation. Fishing vessels, cargo ships, smaller craft, gone. And not in a we found the wreckage later kind of way, just fucking gone. The Japanese government funded multiple investigations into what folks were already calling the Devil's Sea. And here's the kicker, almost all of those investigation efforts ended the same way the missing ships did. Lost, swallowed, financial loss after financial loss, and more importantly, human loss. Crews didn't come back. Eventually, public sentiment started shifting. People were pissed. I don't blame them. Families didn't want their sons and fathers sent into a watery graveyard. You could only throw so much money and so many lives at a mystery before people start asking you why the hell you keep doing it. But in 1952, Japan decided to make one more serious push. They sent the Kaio Maru No. 5, a scientific research vessel staffed with 31 crew members. Its mission? Investigate unexplained ship losses and intense volcanic activity around Myogen-sho, an undersea volcano that had been rumbling and acting pretty unstable. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't a ghost hunting expedition. This wasn't paranormal investigators chasing sea monsters. This was a government-backed scientific vessel studying seismic and volcanic activity that would explain the missing ships. Real instruments, real scientists, real data collection. And yes, the weather wasn't perfect. It wasn't Chamber of Commerce calm seas. But it wasn't a hurricane either. Nothing that screamed, "Don't go out there or you're absolutely fucked." On September 24th, 1952, Myogen-sho violently erupted. A nearby vessel witnessed the massive explosion. A towering plume of gray smoke and ash blasted into the sky in the same area where the Kaio Maru No. 5 had been operating. Not a subtle tremor, not a minor flare-up, a violent undersea detonation, and then silence. No distress call, no SOS, no frantic radio chatter shitting themselves, no "Mayday, Mayday, we're taking on water." Not jack shit. No one reported seeing the ship sink. That's the key detail. What was witnessed was the eruption itself, a violent explosion in the ocean, but nobody watched the Kaio Maru No. 5 go under. Nobody saw it capsize. Nobody saw lifeboats. After that eruption, the vessel never made contact again. 31 men gone. Later surveys of the area revealed that the volcano had essentially blown itself apart. A new caldera had formed underwater. The seafloor had changed. Geologists concluded that the ship was likely destroyed instantly in the blast, either shattered by the explosion or swallowed by collapsing volcanic material. And according to Skeptic researcher Larry Cush, some alleged wreckage fragments were later recovered. However, after scrutiny, they weren't verified to be part of the Kaio Maru No. 5. But here's where the nuance matters. There was no widely documented intact wreck site like you'd expect from a conventional shipwreck. No famous coordinates divers visit. No preserved hull sitting upright on the seabed. What's generally referenced are small debris recoveries and geological surveys confirming there was a massive submarine volcanic explosion. So technically, yes, there are claims that wreckage was retrieved, but it wasn't a clean, cinematic, "we found the goddamn ship" moment. It wasn't a wreckage found but no crew situation. It was more like explosion, fragmentation, geological chaos, and total disappearance. No bodies were ever recovered. No confirmed debris field publicly mapped out in the way you see with traditional maritime disasters. So when people say the ship vanished, they're not entirely wrong from a visual standpoint, because there was no eyewitnesses to the sinking. There was no classic wreck site. There was no gradual, documented descent beneath the waves. There was just a violent eruption, and then the ship was gone. Now, if you're looking at this purely from a scientific angle, the most likely explanation is brutally simple. Undersea volcanic eruption, massive explosion, instant destruction. Wrong place, wrong time. But from a storytelling standpoint, shit, it's fucking insane. Japan sends a scientific vessel into a stretch of ocean already notorious for disappearances. The mission is to investigate why ships keep going missing. They park near an unstable undersea volcano. The volcano detonates. A massive ash plume erupts into the sky, and the investigating ship disappears along with all 31 hands. That's not supernatural, but it is freaky as hell. It's also worth noting that the Kaio Maru No. 5 was one of 8 ships that had mysteriously disappeared in that broader region. So by the time this research vessel went out there, the area already had a goddamn body count. Following this incident, the Japanese government declared the area dangerous for marine voyaging and transporting goods. Moreover, after this unprecedented incident, all efforts to unearth the facts behind the mystery were also aborted. Think about that. A government doesn't casually declare part of the ocean off limits unless something serious has gone down. And in this case, they'd lost ships, money, and citizens. Following the loss of Kaio Maru No. 5, public appetite for further investigations dried up pretty fucking fast. People weren't interested in sending more crews into what felt like an aquatic death trap. The financial bleeding and human cost were too high. All efforts to aggressively pursue the mystery were essentially aborted. And that's where the story settles into this uncomfortable middle ground. Because on paper, the explanation makes sense. Volcano erupts, ship destroyed, end of story. But emotionally, visually, no one saw it sink. No distress call, no survivors, no classic wreck sitting on the ocean floor. Just a plume of smoke, an explosion, and 31 men erased from the surface of the earth. So technically, yes, science leans towards undersea volcanic destruction. But what the world witnessed that day wasn't a sinking. It was an eruption, and then silence. The Warlord and the Wind, Kubla Khan invasion. All right, now let's rewind way the hell back, like all the way back to the 1200s. Long before anyone called it the Dragon's Triangle or the Devil's Sea. The waters south of Japan were already wrecking ambitions. Enter Kubla Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, and the fifth great Khan of the Mongol Empire. This guy wasn't some regional warlord. He ran the largest contiguous land empire in human history. China, controlled. Korea, subjugated. Massive chunks of Asia, his. Japan was next on his hit list. In 1274, he launched the first invasion. Hundreds of ships, tens of thousands of troops, Mongol soldiers, Chinese conscripts, Korean sailors, a floating war machine. The fleet crossed the waters we now associate with the Dragon's Triangle. And then nature basically said, fuck off. A massive-ass storm rolled in. Ships were smashed. Vessels scattered. Soldiers drowned. The invasion stalled hard. Japan survived. Kubla Kai wasn't done though. In 1281, he came back bigger and meaner. This time, we're talking somewhere around 4,000 ships and between 100,000 and 150,000 men combined across multiple fleets. It was one of the largest naval invasion forces the medieval world had ever seen. The dude was serious about taking Japan. And once again, they had to cross those same unpredictable waters. Then came the typhoons. Not just a rough storm, not a windy inconvenience, a full-blown, ship-shattering, butthole-puckering, fleet-destroying nightmare. Contemporary accounts describe ships colliding with each other, anchors snapping, hulls splitting apart, men thrown into raging surf, thousands drowned. Others were left stranded and later executed or enslaved. Estimates vary, but the death toll across both invasions easily exceeded 40,000 men. 40,000! That's not a maritime accident. That's a complete annihilation. The Japanese interpreted these storms as divine intervention. They called the winds kamikaze, divine wind. The belief was that the gods had stepped in to protect Japan from foreign conquest. And honestly, from their perspective, I totally get it. 2 times, the most powerful empire on Earth tries to invade you. Both times, the sea wipes them out. From a modern lens, we understand the region is prone to brutal typhoons and violent weather systems. The waters around southern Japan sit in a zone where tectonic plates grind against each other, like your sister after a few drinks, fueling seismic instability and volatile ocean conditions. But here's the wild shit. This isn't just a legend carved into scrolls. Today, divers are still recovering remnants from those Mongol fleets off the coast of Japan. Anchors, weapons, fragments of hulls. Archaeologists have pulled up stone ballast, ceramic bombs, and even pieces of armor from the seabed. Physical proof that those massive armadas didn't just sail away embarrassed. They were fucked up. And while historians attribute the destruction to typhoons rather than some paranormal force, the scale of the loss is staggering. Entire fleets swallowed by towering waves. Tens of thousands dead. So when folks talk about the Devils Sea having a long history of ships disappearing or being destroyed, they're not just referencing 20th century research vessels. They're talking about a stretch of ocean that once chewed up one of the most powerful empires in history and spit it back out in pieces. You can call it meteorology, you can call it tectonics, or you can call it a reminder that the ocean doesn't give a shit how powerful you think you are. The Silent Era and the Ghost Ships. Now, let's jump ahead to the 20th century, because this is where the Devils Sea really starts acting fucking weird. In August of 1945, right as World War II was collapsing into chaos, a Mitsubishi A6M0 vanished while flying near the Dragon's Triangle. This wasn't some greenhorn pilot either. Reports say the distress transmission came from Wing Commander pilot Shiro Kawamoto. The message starts normal before going completely off the rails. His final words were, "Something is happening in the sky. The sky is opening up." And then, nothing. Just dead air. No confirmed wreckage. No clean explanation. Sure, wartime stress, electrical interference, or atmospheric effects could explain parts of it, but that phrasing is completely fucked up. The sky is opening up is not what you want to hear from a combat pilot right before he disappears. Then, on January 4th, 1955, the Japanese vessel Shinyu Maru No. 10 lost radio contact near Mikurajima, setting off a media firestorm. Japanese newspapers immediately started calling the area Monoumi, the Devil's Sea. Unbelievably, the ship was eventually found safe on January 15, but by then the damage was done. Yomiuri Shimbun published a map showing multiple ship losses clustered in the same region, pointing out that the Yokohama Coast Guard office had already labeled the area a special danger zone. Around the same time, the New York Times picked up the story and introduced American readers to the term the Devil's Sea, reporting that 9 ships had vanished in what was described as perfect weather with no volcanic eruptions. The area in question stretched from the Izu Islands east toward the Ogasawara Islands, roughly 200 miles east to west and 300 miles north to south. Not some tiny cursed patch, but a massive chunk of ocean. And the weirdness doesn't stop there. In early 1942, 5 Japanese military vessels disappeared during routine maneuvers near home waters with no battles, no storms, and no clear explanation. Then you've got the older stories that refuse to die, like reports from the early 1800s describing a mysterious young woman sailing alone through the region in a vessel shaped like a traditional Japanese incense burner. No known identity, no destination, no record of where she came from or where she went. Just sightings, passed down and whispered about. Over time, these stories stacked up into something bigger. Reports of ghost ships drifting through the fog, compasses spinning like they were possessed, radios crackling, and navigation equipment failing for no damn reason. Some ships entered the region fully operational and suddenly found their instruments to be shit, like the ocean itself was screwing with them. That's when broader theories entered the picture. Scottish biologist Ivan T. Sanderson labeled the Devils Sea as one of 12 vile vortices, places around the planet prone to extreme electromagnetic anomalies, arranged in a pattern similar to the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Hard science? Not really, but it added gasoline to an already raging fire. As an interesting side note, both the Bermuda Triangle and the Dragon's Triangle lie at exactly the opposite points from one another on the Earth, which is a strange coincidence. Or is it? The Ogasawara Islands, also known as the Bonin Islands, sit right on the southeastern edge of this zone, and many of the disappearances cluster around them, including 192 Japanese government expeditions that went missing. So when you step back and look at it all together, wartime pilots sending out tweaked out transmissions, ships dropping off the map, military vessels vanishing during drills, folklore about phantom women sailing impossible boats, and modern media branding the region as cursed, you start to see why this stretch of ocean has such a fucked up reputation. You can explain pieces of it with weather, tectonics, and human error, sure, but taken as a whole, the Devils Sea has been producing what the hell just happened stories for centuries, and it clearly hasn't stopped. The high strangeness, UFOs, and sea dragons. Sailors who pass through the Dragon's Triangle don't just talk about rough seas. They talk about straight up weird shit. Sudden magnetic glitches that make compasses spin like they're drunk. Lights glowing beneath the water like something massive is cruising around down there. UFOs hovering in the sky above like they missed their exit on the way to Area 51. And this isn't just modern internet nonsense. Japanese folklore has been tying this region to dragons and sea spirits for centuries, basically stamping it as one of the most paranormally sketchy patches of ocean on Earth. The Chinese were telling stories about this area more than 3,000 years ago. Ancient fables dating back to around 1000 BC describe a massive sea dragon lurking beneath the waves, just waiting for some unlucky ship to wander in its lair. According to the lore, this thing had an endless appetite. Boat crosses the wrong stretch of water, boom, dragged under, never seen again. No wreckage, no survivors, just gone. And dragons aren't even the only explanation people have thrown at this place. Once the 20th century rolled around and flying saucers became the new cultural obsession, aliens got dragged into it too. There are conspiracy theories claiming extraterrestrials are operating out of the Dragon's Triangle, snatching ships and planes like cosmic fishermen. Some people even point to UFO sightings visible on Google Maps as proof. There are also reports of big-ass sea monsters, In 1944, a pilot flying over the area stated he saw a 150-foot long creature moving through the water below. That's not a big fish. That's a fucking nightmare on a biblical scale. And then you've got the USO theory, unidentified submerged objects. Basically, underwater UFOs. Some researchers argue that early witnesses who thought they saw dragons might have seen some kind of advanced craft moving beneath the surface. There's even pictures floating around that show strange objects in the water. Then it gets even crazier. Some people swear the region fucks with time itself. Missing hours, disorientation, claims of a portal to another dimension. Hell, a few theories even suggest a black hole under the sea. At some points, you have to admit whether it's dragons, aliens, or dimensional rips, this place has inspired some fucking kick-ass explanations. By 1989, this wasn't just regional folklore anymore. It was an international paranormal hotspot with claims of 700 deaths in just 2 years. Suddenly, the Dragon's Triangle wasn't just a scary story told by sailors. It was a global phenomenon that demanded answers. People wanted to know if this stretch of ocean was cursed, chaotic, or just plain fucking dangerous, setting the stage for both skeptical explanations and downright creepy believers' takes. Skeptics' explanations. One explanation for the mysterious disappearances in the Dragon's Triangle involves the vast deposits of methane hydrates on the ocean floor. Sea farts? Methane clathrates, or methane hydrate gas, are ice-like compounds that can explode when they rise above 64 degrees Fahrenheit. When this happens, bubbles form on the water's surface, disrupting buoyancy and eventually sinking ships without leaving any debris or warning for the crew. This phenomenon could explain many sudden vanishings in the region. Another major factor is the region's intense volcanic and seismic activity. Undersea volcanoes are common, and small islands frequently disappear while new ones emerge. Explosions from these volcanoes can destroy vessels, cause extreme weather, and create the appearance of ghost islands. Many investigators, including Kush, argue that volcanic activity accounts for a large portion of the Devils Sea's strange occurrences, including electromagnetic disturbances and sudden storms. The area is also subject to deep sea currents, earthquakes, and magnetic anomalies that can interfere with navigation instruments, causing ships and aircraft to lose where the hell they're going. Its proximity to the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth, further contributes to unpredictable oceanic conditions. Some scientists suggest that tectonic activity, methane gas eruptions, and plate collisions make this stretch of water very dangerous. Moreover, Japanese researchers have proposed the concept of sanokunami, or three-dimensional waves. This occurs when waves from three different directions converge, creating chaotic seas capable of overwhelming even large seaworthy vessels. Everything taken together, methane eruptions, volcanic activity, seismic shifts, magnetic irregularities, strong currents, and multi-directional waves provide a comprehensive scientific explanation for why the Dragon's Triangle has claimed so many ships, planes, and lives over the years. Believers' explanations. Now, this is where the gloves come off and the shit really hits the fan. Enter Ivan T. Sanderson and his idea of the 12 vile vortices. According to Sanderson, the Dragon's Triangle isn't just rough water. It's one of 12 nasty little hotspots around the planet where electromagnetic energy goes completely sideways. His theory? Hot and cold ocean currents collide at these exact points, creating disturbances that fuck with navigation systems, radios, compasses, basically anything a ship or plane needs to not get lost. However, vessels aren't just lost. They get caught in some invisible energy blender. Instruments start glitching. Bearings go off. Pilots and captains suddenly don't know where the fuck they're going. And then, boom, they vanish. Not because of weather, not because of human error, but because they flew or sailed straight into a vortex that doesn't give a damn about physics as we understand it. But then you've got Charles Berlitz, who came in swinging in 1989 with his book, The Dragon's Triangle. Berlitz didn't just hint at weird energy. He leaned into the idea that the water itself was evil, cursed, malevolent. He tied the region to missing Japanese naval vessels and claimed the Devils Sea had swallowed millions over time. According to him, this wasn't bad luck. It was something darker. And honestly, Japanese folklore had already been saying that shit for centuries. The Dragon's Triangle was once called the Sea of the Gods, described as a kingdom of dark forces. Some believed it was ruled by sea dragons. Others thought it was a demonic realm. And once UFO culture exploded, aliens got added into the mix too. There's even a middle ground theory that kinda says, yeah, science is real, but so is the myth. Maybe volcanic eruptions inspired the fire-breathing dragon legends. Maybe storms and currents got interpreted as supernatural punishment. When a ship disappears in violent, unexplained chaos, people don't say, "Ah yes, tectonic plate friction." Fuck no. They say, "What the hell just dragged them under?" And in the Devil's Sea, believers are convinced something is still down there. Despite investigations and scientific studies, there is still no single explanation that explains every disappearance linked to the Dragon's Triangle. Because of that, it remains one of the ocean's most unsettling legends. Some people are satisfied with theories involving geology, weather, and human error. Others are convinced something deeper and stranger is at work, and local superstition still keeps many wary of its waters. Its reputation as a dangerous stretch of sea has endured for centuries and continues to fascinate people worldwide. The Dragon's Triangle exists in a gray space between science and folklore, where natural forces and ancient myths overlap. Whether future research finally explains it or not, the mystery has already secured its place as one of the world's most compelling and enduring maritime enigmas. Do you like weird-ass monsters and government conspiracies? Then tap that like button and subscribe. That way, you won't miss out on more of my fucked up commentary. And besides, I really do appreciate it. If you had to bet money on what was down there, what would you go with? An ancient underwater base, a dimensional portal, or a really angry volcano? Drop your favorite theory down in the comments. And if you're ready to crank that shit all the way up to 11, that join button's got your name on it. For just $2.99, you could have my back in a huge way. Until next time, y'all keep it real, keep it chill, and stay creepy! Catch you on the flip. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. You are the real beast.